Hello, everyone. How many of you are tired? Like, really, really tired? Okay, me too. How many of you were on my presentation like 2 hours ago? Okay, so now you know why I'm feeling tired a bit. What's happening with my clicker? Okay, I will use USB. So, my second talk is about personal and organizational mindset of innovation. So, it's a really funny story because when I was preparing the abstract and the whole presentation, the idea was to show you how there are some of the companies that didn't have the mindset for innovation, and they are most of them are already out of the business. So I want to focus on the companies from the late 90s and show it to you how they were successful, and then 20 years yet later they are gone. But I thought that at some point there is no lesson out of it, like how you can learn something about the company that it's already out of the business, and there's not so much to speak about. So the idea was that I will do a short of the introduction, because on most of the presentations you've got a video when people say about what's the part of the presentation. Here it's slightly different. Then we'll speak about the organizations who are great at efficiency and innovation and why they are great. So we'll not speak about those that are bad at it and they are gone. We'll focus on three organizations, three or four, I don't remember, three or four organizations that are great at innovations, but in a different path to achieve the goal that they have. Then we will speak about for a few moments about how the organization can have the innovative mindset. What are the biggest challenges and the biggest things that they need to focus on? And the third part is about the um, can-do mindset for people and how they can approach innovation, or how they can be open for innovations, like stuff like happens here on a conference. Like there's many speakers, they speak with you about different concepts, how to test software, or about new tools, how to use them. And it's a part of your mindset how you try to collect that data and approach it for your benefit in your projects. How many of you got like a rough idea that they will take something from this conference and try to apply it in their own projects? Good, I've got one. So for me, it was the Niels presentation about the weekly deliveries. Who of you was at that presentation? Not so many. So maybe you will see the video because it should be online in a month or two. And the last fourth part will be the Q&A session. Some of the questions will be from the audience, hopefully, and the rest we will go through Slido. So the first thing is about innovation. So currently I am a test manager, so I do a different kind of innovations. Like I'm building a product, or I'm responsible for testing a products that are supposed to be innovative. But for the longer time in my previous company, I was a test consultant, and I was part of the consultancy team, and I felt like the most of the innovations for the customers came from consulting. Like when you arrive at the new organization and then suddenly it turns out that they've got no software architects, they've got only developers, they've got no testers, they are got only developers, and then you start to speak with them about who should be the software architect, who should be the system architect, what tools they should use, who should be the tester, and what that person is supposed to deliver, and how they should be testing. And suddenly it turns out that for those customers, all of those proposals are innovations. They don't need a cutting edge new tool or new hardware. They sometimes, for them, innovation is just embedding a new role inside their projects or inside their delivery stream. So a little bit about me, why I want to say something about innovation and innovation mindset. So I already told you that I'm a test manager. I told you that I work in automotive, but I also worked for 15 years in testing on a different roles, from testing, manual testing, exploration testing, test automation, security testing, performance testing, web applications, mobile applications, all that stuff. I'm a public speaker, so I'm traveling around the Europe and presenting different subjects on conferences. I'm trying to do a bit of networking, so being a speaker has the easier access to different speakers and discussions with them. So I encourage all of you to try out and try to be a speaker, for example, at the conference like this one. I was and I am a consultant connected with introducing testing in organization or in delivery. I was a Scrum Master for a few years. I was an SDM, so software delivery manager, for a few years. I was a product owner for a few months. So I tried the approach to deliver projects from different perspectives. And now when I'm speaking with my project manager or product owner, I hope I understand his way of thinking about the solution. And what I want to speak with you about is the approach for innovation. I want to speak with you how innovation can be applied, how different organizations do innovations. I choose for myself at least 3 real-time examples to start with. So how many of you know Zara's organization? Probably most of you, because they've got a shop like 2 floors below or something like this. So the thing that Zara is doing as a way how they approach innovation is the first thing is the speed to storage. So they are focused about how fast they can deliver the clothes to the shop and sell them. So one of the funny things is that in at least in Poland, I'm not familiar how it works in the different countries, but in Poland, when there's a set of clothes and they are having usually like 3 or 5 pieces of particular cloth on the shop, if it's sold out, then if you ask them when they will have additional jackets, this type of jackets in my size, they will say never. Basically, they've got usually they've got either the management works on a shop level or on the storage level, but usually they just produce a number of clothes, they put it in the shops, they sell it, and the new delivery has new clothes. And they try to not repeat the same clothes again and again. One of the other things is that they work in an excellence in design agility, so they try to be in line with the most fashion things that are currently on the market. But one of the funny things is one of the owners said that in Zara the target for them is that your clothes should survive 5 washings or 6. I don't remember how many it was, but it was something around between 4 and 6. That there should be no indication how many of those were already done. And the idea is that after those 6 washes or 7, you just buy new clothes, because they are not how to name it, like not fancy anymore, because they are the new clothes and now you should buy those new. So they try to apply the as a part of this continuous improvements approach, they try to apply the way as most of the European clothing companies, that you can return your clothes and then get a discount for a new one, and then try to produce recycled clothing and all that stuff. But they got very tight supply chain, so the delivery from the factory to the shop and to the storage is really, really fast, and they really focus on being the best at it. Another thing is Amazon. Do you have it in here? Like, do you have a location or distribution center in Lithuania? Not yet. Not yet. Okay, so we already got them in Poland. So they moved from Western Germany to Eastern Germany, and now they moved to Poland, and probably one day, but probably they will move to Belarus, not to Vilnius, because you've got the euro. So it will be still costly for them to work. But one of the things that are very funny about Amazon, and I really like it, is the arrow in their label. It's from A to Z, and that's the approach how the management wants to see their shop. So they want to sell you everything you need. So the ultimate goal for them is to allow you to never exit your flat and be able to order anything you need to live and to make your hobbies, exercise, everything to buy them on Amazon. So one of the things is that they've got the culture of innovative thinking. So every time that something changed on the market, they try to apply it in the shop, and they try to be innovative about it. So one of the things, for example, that was very successful for them. So in the, I think it was the late 90s, the web pages were huge, like huge amount of data was presented, and they were not optimized the way how they are now. So Amazon had like a huge set of data centers. And when the web page begins faster and better, and the websites itself are smaller and smaller, most of the online shopping companies were closing down the data centers. Like one single data center was enough to handle all the traffic. So what did Amazon did? They made a workshop, and they've got an idea that so if we have so many data center, then maybe we can propose on the market the infrastructure as a service. And that was like an early prototype of something that currently everybody remembers and knows as AWS. So AWS is the service of storage and infrastructure that you get that was started by not use data storage that they already have, because they've got so many servers and they were not using them anymore. Then they decided to do it this way. So they've got a very tight customer insight. Like, how many of you have ever shopped anything on Amazon? Good. How many of you have also bought something that was one of the suggestions from the Amazon? Like, you can combine this product with other, or every people that buy this stuff buy something else. They are really focused about it, and they are better and better in providing a good suggestion algorithm. So one of the things that was really funny about Amazon many years ago was that they've tried to have an AI system, and it was blocked by the US government. They were not allowed to use it. And the funny history is it happened because there was a woman that was ordering groceries and all those eating stuff that you need to eat and drink on Amazon, and they've got an AI that was profiling people doing shopping on Amazon, and suddenly she ordered something different. And the AI, or the bot from, it was not yet the AI, it was a bot based on statistics. What it did, the Amazon bot sent an email to husband of that woman and congratulate him of becoming a father and suggested him a few new things to shop. So suddenly it turns out that he was not aware that his wife is pregnant, and the worst thing was that the wife was also not aware that she was pregnant. And she made the test, and it turns out she was. And the first things they did, they make a lawsuit against Amazon that it's not allowed to have so much information about your customers. And that was the first entry-level AI based on statistics that was as a part of the agreement between those people and the Amazon. They decided that they will not use it on their shop, and that was one of the first early AIs in the US that was forbidden. So the third example is Toyota. So how many of you remember or recognize Toyota as something that it's connected with long-term efficiency and not costly maintenance? How many of you drive a Toyota car? That's strange. Like totally different people raise their hands up. Yeah, but one of the things that is different, for example, between Amazon and Toyota is like, and especially with Zara and Toyota, is like Zara is focused on a very short-term solutions, and Toyota usually, and the same is there's a company called Mazda. They think about the long-term solution. Their innovation is just they build a prototype. Both of those companies, both Toyota and Mazda, do it this way. So they build a prototype. How will the car look like in 10 years? And then they take one of the models that they are currently selling and they try to put a set of milestones how to make this current car closer and closer to the prototype for the next 10 or 20 years. And good example, there is a Mazda that is inspired by Sahara Desert. I don't remember the name of that model, but it was shown in 2002, around this year. And currently the Mazda Model 3 is becoming more and more similar to that prototype. And that was the moment, the way how they are improving the cars, how they are playing the long game, and they build like a framework of improvement. And the other thing that is happening is there are small improvements from the inside the company, and they try to make better and better cars. And they feel like the prototypes are something that should be shaping the industry, and that's why when they show a prototype, then they try to move their car to be a better implementation of what the prototype was. So currently one of the companies from Germany that is trying to do the same way is Audi. So Audi has their own conference when they show the prototypes of cars, and then they say this is our vision for the 20 years, and then we will try to move our cars more and more similar to that. And one of the things, not from Audi, but actually from Mazda, for example, was that they have a prototype like 10 years ago that there was no side mirrors, but there was like cameras checking what's on the side of the car, and then having small screens inside in the car. And more prototypes are trying to use the same feature, and this is the feature that was shown like 10 or 15 years ago. So the funny fact about the innovations and the people working in companies, there was a research being done by MIT on over 2,000 companies, and there was a Toronto University research done checking around 25,000 of employees. And they were checking how many of people are ready and open to welcome innovations and exploration of new solutions, new products, new tools, and all that stuff. And it turns out that in their scale, there's only 2% of companies and 3% of employees that are ready for it. And I would say this could be the right reason showing how Tesla became so successful in the automotive industry. Like basically, there's so many different car manufacturers, and then suddenly there's Tesla, and Tesla is starting with an electrical car, and they are welcoming any sort of innovations, and they are exploring a new markets, and suddenly they are successful. And personally, I believe that one of the reasons is because they are part of this 2% of the companies that, because for many years the automotive industry was felt like it's full, like there's so many different cars, and all of those cars manufacturers have like 20 different models. So there is no way how you can produce a new model as a new car manufacturer and then become successful, because there's like already existing 5 different other cars that match your car in the market, and you will just lose because you don't have the brand power and all that stuff behind it. But it turns out that no, if you're having those 2 or 3% of mindset of welcoming the innovation, then it might be very possible for you to get the success. And many of the startups are basing on the same approach, that they try to be as innovative and as open and exploring new markets as those unicorns that are usually this small number of companies. So what are the 4 attributes that they were recognized during this research, and they are suggested to be on an organizational level to keep the innovation mindset? So the first thing is to embrace and be efficient in exploring and exploiting like a new market, or to constantly rethink your strategy. So like Amazon did. So if you have data centers and you don't need those data anymore, and they've got a lot of free space, maybe that's a potential for a new market, for a new service, for a new solution that you can provide to the potential user or customers, and then make money out of it. One of the things is also to keep continuously improving. So if you decide that you've got a product, you've got an operation, to try to be constantly improving it and be better and better and delivering it. This is something that Toyota does. They've got the long-term project goals, and they try to be the best in those goals. The second thing is to retain inside-in focus. So even if you got like a huge success and you're like one of the best in the world, you need to try to think from the outside perspectives. You need to avoid the risks. So one of the greatest examples that was supposed to be on the slides, but I removed it because it was like this failing companies. How many of you remember the last few weeks ago that there was a Thomas Cook organization that just ran out of business? Yeah, so they were the biggest organizer of trips, at least in the UK, but I think the whole Europe. There were so many companies connected with them. So they were sending people on vacations all over the world, and they got like a huge success, and they were so happy about it that they didn't recognize that the market has changed. And I feel like this is something like the building that is like a old monument in the middle, and then on the both sides there's just glass new buildings with offices. And this is something that happens. Yeah, that there's like a huge growth of Booking.com and Airbnb and so many different other organizations. There is the whole approach of selling vacations online, and then there's Thomas Cook, who has like a booth inside the shopping center like this one. How many of you ever ordered vacations in a traveling agency offline in some room instead of buying it online? So it's, for this size of people and randomly selected, it's a very, very slow number. And I ask you ever, not each year. How many of you do it each year? Only this way? No. Yeah, so all of you moved to online. All of the companies, or most of the companies, moved to the online market. And then there was Thomas Cook staying in this old way of selling vacations, and they just get out of business. That's one of the things that happened. That's something that they didn't do. They didn't recognize how the Airbnb is operating, how Booking.com is operating. Suddenly they are like one of the most successful organizations, and they have totally different approach to the business. Like you've got the Uber. Uber doesn't have any single taxi, and they are the biggest taxi company around the world. So the third thing is, you need to embrace disruption. Disruption shouldn't be a problem for you. It should be an opportunity. Every time when there is a disruption happening, you should be ready for major commitments. You should be happy, and then you should find your way how to get the most out of it, instead of just feeling bad because the market has fallen again. That should be a constant way of you doing the business. Market has changed, we have changed, and we are welcoming the new solution. And you always have to have the right model for renewal. So you can either work in a specific time frame model, so you can only focus about what you can achieve in a specific time frame window, or you can have the no regrets model, so you explore the sector and you always be the most innovative company in your sector. But you can always choose to have like something that's in the middle of those. So you can have one team focused on the long-term goals with a different set of products, and you have a second thing focused on currently goals. And then you can manage the trade-offs between long and short-term priorities. And then you can find how or in which product a new tool or a new solution should be applied fast, and in which of them we can have a dry run, we can have evaluation steps and all that stuff. So there are a few extra rules. You need to invite the challenge, and that's something that's mostly connected with agile management of the project. You invite the challenge, you invite the coaching from the outside. So I feel like for the most of the situation, consultants from the outside provide you with a totally different perspective. Sometimes I know a lot of agile consultants, and it's so funny when they say the only thing that they do when they go to the new company, they just go to the people and they reorder where people are sitting. So suddenly testers are sitting with project managers and developers in the same room, and suddenly they need to speak with each other, and for them it's totally an innovation. Because usually it was developers producing the code and making a commit, there was an automated deployment, and the tester were picking up what's on the test server. And nobody has to speak with nobody. And now suddenly the innovation is they recognize that they can speak and they can discuss and they can argue about some things. So, but how about not like on an organizational level, but how to do it on a single people level? So the Toronto University has a solution that they called a radical can-do mindset. So this is a way of working where you believe that you can deliver new stuff and you just need to apply a few rules. So one thing is, for each one of you, on your daily work, on your personal commitments that you do, you need to build a mission. What is my personal responsibility in this project? Why am I here in this project, not in the other ones? You need to have a vision, so you need to see the path in which you want to achieve the goal. So if my goal, for example, in my project is to deliver a product in the next 5 years, I try, every decision I make is connected with my mission, but it goes step by step to the vision, what I want to achieve, and then there's an execution plan. Then you can build. It's very similar to how Toyota works. They want to shape the automotive industry. That's the mission. The vision is the prototype that they produce and show on conferences. That's how the car will look like in 20 years. And then they have the execution plan, how to move our current models to this model that we are presenting. You need to be ready to redefine your focus. Like every day, you should be able to reprioritize anything. Just because you had a meeting and somebody jumped into your room and said, this thing is not possible. This tool that we wanted to use will be not usable for our project. Or this company, as a part of our solution, bought another competitor, but they are not delivering the stuff they are supposed to do. So there will be a third organization cooperating with us, and you need to integrate with totally new solution. You need to be ready to constantly prioritize and change the priorities for your work. And that is followed by your commitment to change. So you have to be committed that you will embrace the change that will hit you. And the only danger is if you press pause. So like when you're delivering a project, the biggest danger that you can do, and I've seen a lot of companies do that, is to stop the producing the solution. Like, I understand when you are moving from developers to testing because you want to test more and you want to do stuff like this, but I've seen a lot of companies that were having a product on the market, having a lot of customers, and then suddenly they decide that they will have 8 months stabilization sprint, and they move all the people they've got on board to a maintenance. You will do only refactor, you will do only testing, regression testing, and fixing bugs, and you will do nothing more for like half a year. So people are not happy about the work they do. Customers are not happy because even if they got fixes, they've got nothing new from the feature perspective. And then that's the moment when the change is happening on the market. So your competitors are improving the feature, they are building new features, and then the rule to face the change from the position of strength is gone. Because then suddenly you jump out of the maintenance after 8 months and everything has changed. I know that there are mature markets when the companies can work this way, but if you want to work in a totally innovative startup market, then going for 8 months to maintenance and then trying how the business looks like after 8 months and how we can adapt to them is just running after the business after it's too late, because basically the changes will be too big to even catch them. And one of the things that I really believe in is accept of failures to fix anything. So there's a lot of companies that got a rule that if you are not failing often enough, then you are not trying hard enough. So one of the things is Amazon has that rule. So if they got like a yearly or half a year retrospectives about how we apply the changes to the market that is changing in the world, then if they are not failing, if there are no experiments that were just decided that we will not do it, but every solution was perfect and everything worked out of the box, they are always searching for a way if we tried hard enough. Maybe we are still the best, but maybe there was a bigger opportunity that we don't explore enough because we didn't fail at any of the steps. So I think that one of the things that I learned from me being a part of the startup was that there have to be often experiments, even during the sprint, during the delivery process. There have to be a lot of experiments. There have to be a lot of summaries. What was the outcome of experiments? There have to be a lot of lessons learned. What did we learn? What worked well? What didn't work? And then you need to adapt it and apply it as a good practice or as a bad practice and reject it. But you need to understand that you need to learn from every failure. And there shouldn't be like ostracizing anybody that this team ran 10 experiments and they fail on all 10 of them. So they are the worst team. No, they are the team that tried at the most new approaches and then most new solutions. So, in summary, what's the mindset of innovation? How to be effective in it? I would say that first thing is to get things done, to deliver the mission, the execution, to have can-do attitude, so to be open for the new changes, and if somebody asks you to do something, rather tell them I can try as an experiment instead of saying it's not possible, I won't do it. You need to run a lot of experiments and you need to learn from those failures and also from successful experiments. You need to be open for learning. You need to understand what is the best way how you can learn. Sometimes there are people who are the best in learning from reading books. There are some people that are the best in learning from audiobooks, and there are people the best in learning on applying experiments on their daily job. And you need to find out what's the rule behind the people in your team, and then it's good to apply the way of learning or the way how the experiment can be run, that it fits to the particular person. So for example, when I'm recruiting somebody to my team, I do it during the recruitment process. I usually ask those people, how do you learn? What is the best or preferred way of learning? And if they say to me that this is reading books or reading blogs or something, then usually I ask them, what was the last thing that you read or you watch on video or something, and what was the thing that you learned from it. So maybe it's not always like a decision point that their response will influence my decision if I want to hire them or not. But if somebody tells me that he is the best in learning from books, but don't remember what was the last book he read or what did he learn from that book, then usually I would mark myself that maybe he should try or experiment with a different ways of learning, and that I will never apply him to read a new architecture or a new documentation and try how we can adapt based on what is being delivered as a part of it. And I really believe that favor does favor the brave. So the more you experiment, the more you learn, the biggest is the chance that you will achieve something great in your team, in your project, in your product. You will get the slides, so you'll get the contact messages to me. I will be in the speaker's corner after this session. I wasn't there after the last one, but I will be after this one, so you can still grab me in the speaker's corner part. Thank you very much.